What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Hey, we just got some late breaking news about our quarterback, Kyler Murray, and his decision to sign his Major League Baseball contract with the Oakland A's. I'm going to read it for you so that we can all catch up on this because, well, in sports, but in the sports world, college football, you can always expect big news to drop between 5 and 6 o'clock just in time to make it to your local 6 o'clock news broadcast. And for the sports anchor there to have to do some double duty work and try to run down all of this news that's breaking. Today, it was an exclusive in the San Francisco Chronicle by the Oakland A's beat writer Susan Slusser, who put together this little news bit. Outfielder Kyler Murray, the A's top pick in last week's draft, officially will sign with the team on Friday and be introduced at the Coliseum that day, multiple sources told the Chronicle. As part of the agreement, Murray will play just one more year of college football at Oklahoma. One source said Murray is projected to be Baker Mayfield's successor, yada, yada, yada. Murray, 20, signed for right around the draft slot value of $4.6 million. Both the A's and Murray have insurance in place in the event Murray is severely injured playing football this fall. Then there's this comparison about football players who play baseball. Joe Mauer was the #1 overall pick out of high school, but he switched sports entirely. The most comparable guy to Slusser seems to be Josh Fields, who was drafted by the White Sox as the 18th overall selection in 2004, while Oklahoma State's quarterback. You got another guy in 1988 named Brian Jordan, who went 30th overall. Bo Jackson, John Elway, Russell Wilson, and of course Kyle Parker at Clemson, who was drafted and signed for $1.7 million. So that puts one thing to bed here. And this is one of the reasons, like, I'm reading these local news stories. One guy in particular was talking about how Kyler might play for his senior year. And I'm like, this is bunk. Because why? You know, number one, you can draw it up in the contract to where, no, if you want to play college football, you will give back this money. You will give back this money, and then you will fracture your relationship with not only the Oakland A's, but everybody in Major League Baseball ever, because you broke your word to them. And they have done everything in their power to let Kyler Murray be Kyler Murray, which is to have an opportunity to be Baker's successor, to start as the quarterback at Oklahoma. My goodness, we're a blue blood. You don't pass up that opportunity. You don't take that from a kid. On the other hand, if you're the kid, keep your word. You know, you came in to Lincoln Riley and said, I'm going to try to give you at least a year of college football. Thank you for allowing me to transfer here from A&M after I snubbed Oklahoma the first time so that I could play 2 sports. I'm on scholarship as a football player, and you're allowing me to play baseball where my money is. I didn't ever think for 1 minute, man, that Kyler Murray was going to play his senior year of college football, and I think it was smart, and I think it was timely for the Oakland A's and Kyler Murray to reach an agreement where they said, hey, let's just put it out on paper so everybody knows after the fall, you're done playing football forever. You're going to be in the Oakland A's organization. We're probably going to teach you to play a better center field. You're going to learn to hit better breaking balls. You're going to become the kind of 5-tool player that we expect you to be as the #9 overall selection. Also, we're going to sign you for the slot value of about $5 million. I don't see how this was going to go any other way, honestly. And now we have news, and we know it's going to happen on Friday. He's going to be introduced at the Coliseum in Oakland on Friday. We know that he's a professional baseball player forevermore who plays college football as a hobby, and he's going to basically get paid $5 million to be the starting quarterback at Oklahoma in a year where we could make it back to the college football playoff. This is good news, folks. I'm down with it. I love it. It is my spirit animal to date. And with that said, let's do the roll call real quick before we get back into some Kyler Murray, because I got some more I'd like to tell you about that. CBR Swag's in here. Josh Westcott, what's good, fam? Steelboy, what's good? Elliot, what's good? Crankstar. Miles Montoya's in here. Christopher, what's good? Jake Gann, I see you. Robert Lane, hey, man. Jared Gray, what's good? Kyle Williams in the house. Pure Flames in the house. Let me see. Jake Goodnight, I see you. Aaron from Austin. I know Terry listens. Hey, Terry! I know Laurel and Weapon X and Brave. Hey, Mama! Mama brought me lunch today. It was Chick-fil-A. It was really, really, really good. Shout out to Coach B. Wasn't able to get up with him today because today is just busy. I know he's moving. Whoa! RG for DC. Robert Lane. I appreciate that. Thank you, fam. Robert, what you want to talk about, man? Hit me back in the comments or in the chat. Sooner Ace was good. Chris Sullivan was good. Mike McCoy's in here. I see you, fam. So back to this Kyler Murray thing for just a little bit. I don't understand why anybody is pitching a conniption about this, you know, because think about it. I mean, just do the math. Why on earth would you want him to play another year of college football, even as an OU fan? Hey, Space Mine with $2 super chat. Appreciate that, fam. Why would you want him to do that? You know, why would you really want him to play another year when you know that his future's in baseball? We all know his future is in baseball. It's not that he couldn't play in the NFL. He's got talent to do that. We know that. He was a 5-star recruit as a quarterback, which is something else I'll get to in a little bit. What's up, Miles, with the $2 super chat? I see you, fam. Look, I don't understand why you would not want that to occur, man. Just let him go. He's a 5'10 quarterback. Yes, Russell Wilson, I'm that guy making that argument. Yes, Baker Mayfield, I'm that guy making that argument. Neither one of those guys was a top 10 baseball prospect, and baseball money is change your life money in a ridiculous way. You know, shout out to Blinken Riley, put together this stat. The highest paid guaranteed contract is like Jimmy Garoppolo, San Francisco 49ers, making $76 million. 160 Major League Baseball players make that or more. All right? Like, Miguel Cabrera got hurt last night, tore his bicep tendon, and the Tigers owe him like $400 million over the next, 6 years? Through 2024? What? So, I mean, we're fast approaching $500 million to play baseball, right? You're not going to do that in football. And you can play 20 years, you can play 25 years in baseball, but at the minor league level, at the major league level, and be fine. You know, we know how injurious football is to everybody involved, not let alone quarterbacks who, if they catch the wrong hit, it's lights out, man. We know that. This is good. This is good news for Kyler. This is good news for the A's. This is good news for Oklahoma. We have a Texas high school legend as our quarterback, and we get him for 1 year, and we know it's the 1 year. So all the stops are being pulled out, right? Everybody's got insurance to cover him, right? I don't see how this is a bad thing. All right, let me check who else made it into the chat. David Smith was good. Steelboy was good. Caden Mason Music, I see you, fam. Travis Hill, let me see. The Ooligan. All right. Norman, what's good, Norman? I see you, Billy in the Redwoods. What's up, fam? AJ, what's good? Let me see. Who else we miss? John Farrell, what's up? I see y'all. Joshua Young, what's good, man? So, what do you think? Honestly, are you upset about Kyler Murray signing his deal on Friday and playing just 1 year of college football, you know, with an insurance policy? Because I would really like to hear that argument if you got one. I mean, lay it on me. Because as I see it, this is good news. This is fine. We're all doing great here, man. Let me see. Dustin made in here. What do you think of OU's offensive line? We're going to be good. I mean, why wouldn't we be good? We return Ben Powers, Drew Samia, Bobby Evans. You get to start a Jonathan Alvarez who's waited his turn, or a Creed Humphrey who's really, really, really talented. And one of these JUCO guys, David Swaby or Tremonda Moore, is going to step up for that other tackle spot. They're going to battle with Bray Walker. You know, we're okay. We're doing just fine. We're doing just fine there. But I wanted to also talk about this column and this video that I put up at 5 o'clock today. You should check it out, what Spencer Rattler told me about not being a 5-star quarterback. Now, look, there are no 5-star quarterbacks in this class. There are no 5-star quarterbacks in the 2019 class. Think about that for just a second. That means that the recruiting services and most scouts and coaches don't believe there's one quarterback in the entire country who deserves the title of most talented, best high school prospect in the country. That was bunked me, but I went and I looked at it. The kid, Sam Howell at Florida State, he's 6'1", 200 pounds, right? Okay, all right, whatever. Tua's little brother, who also committed to Alabama, he's about 5'10", 200 pounds. Okay. Spencer Rattler, we know, 6'1", about 190. So the knock on these kids is that they're short and they're small. But where I'm from, being 6 feet tall, 200 pounds is not short or small. However, I understand it's not short or small. To me, it's short, small in big-time football. But, and this is something that SB Nation recruiting editor Bud Elliott actually said, I also understand that the #1 overall pick in the NFL draft this year was a 6 foot, 200 pound quarterback. Because check this out. Nobody cares if you're a 6 foot, 200 pound quarterback if you can hit a shoebox from 50 yards down the field. And Baker Mayfield can do that. Spencer Rattler can do that. Not to say nothing of Spencer Rattler is destroying the best competition he can face, right? One of the ways that these stars are given out, right? Speaking of which, Dax Hill got his 5th star, and he's going to make a visit to Alabama, but that video is tomorrow. Look, one of the ways that they give these stars out is how do you perform at these tournaments of sorts, at these camps of sorts, the Rivals Camp Series, at Elite 11, at the opening? What do? When you're matched up against the best in the country, do you rise? Do you compete? Do you win? Because a kid like Dax Hill goes out there and wins. A kid like Spencer Rattler goes out there and wins. And yet, because he's not tall enough, because he's not broad enough, we're not going to call him a 5-star quarterback? Get out of here. Have you seen him throw the football? I mean, he's got a laser. And he throws through windows that are like the size of this camera, which is about like this, right? The one that I use for this. But seriously, even so, come on, man. It's almost like wherever he puts the football, the window expands as the ball's going there, just to bow down to whatever he's throwing. I don't understand how you could, number one, not make Spencer Rattler a 5-star quarterback, but also no quarterback in the country. And it's not just the recruiting services. It's not just Rivals. It's not just 24/7. It's not just ESPN. I didn't mean to lead anybody onto that. It's also coaches and scouts and quarterback coaches who are like, it's like the quarterback skipped a class. This is the worst class I've ever seen. Even the bottom of this class is trash. Come on, man. I mean, are they high school kids? Are they born how they're born? Like, look, we all want to be 6'5", 250. We all do. All right? Some of us are, some of us aren't. Some of us are blessed with vision. Some of us are blessed with skills, footwork. Have you seen Spencer Rattler play quarterback? That's what I want to ask. Whenever I see someone who insists that he's not a 5-star quarterback, are you watching? Look, the same guy at Rivals who called Spencer Rattler the best quarterback in the 2019 class won't make him a 5-star quarterback. I don't understand that, right? I'm putting you on the spot, Adam Gordon. I'm putting you on the spot because, hey, man, him and Bo Nix, I think they're both 5-star quarterbacks. But then again, so do I think about Sam Howell. And so do I think about Tua's little brother. I don't understand how you could be the best at your position at any level and not be considered the best to do it. Like, come on, man. I don't understand why we're going to twerk on 17 and 18-year-old kids who live and breathe by the stars, and we do too, fans, till you get to Oklahoma, right? Till you get to where you're going. Then the stars don't matter because you got on a different jersey and you have to compete at the Division I level. But while we're here, why aren't we enjoying this? Why are we telling kids you can't be a 5-star quarterback because you're not tall enough, because you're not large enough? What kind of message is that sending in a sport that's fun and it's for kids? Yes, we play it as adults, but we play it the same way we used to play when we were 6. The rules are the same. Why are we not having a good time here, man? We're going up to kids and we're saying, hey, you can throw the ball, you can make all the moves, you have great footwork, but grow a few inches. What? Come on, man. Let me check out the super chat now. Let me check out the chat and see what we got going on. Robert Lane says, oh, okay, well, if you walk on as a QB and you're not Mayfield, chances are you're slim. Yeah, pretty much. Let me see. Let me see what else. Kay Sanders says, I wonder how this plays out if he was to get drafted in the NFL. I mean, they don't retroactively give 5 stars. That's the issue. They don't retroactively if you're talking about Kyler, he's not going to get drafted in the NFL. You know, he's not going to be eligible for the NFL. He has to actually put himself in the draft to be eligible. So it's not going to happen. Let me see. What else we got here? Jake Granger, Iowa State should be watched, but the biggest question is how defensive scheme is. If nothing changes, we're boning. I get you, Steele. Okay, I jumped into somebody's conversation. That's my fault. Hey, Coach B, I see you, fam. Let me see. Big 12 needs to add Power 5 teams, if anyone, Arizona and A&M. No, Just Dustin. Look, I did a podcast, the WOOSAH podcast. If you don't listen to it, I encourage you to. It's on SoundCloud. It's on iTunes. If you listen to it and you like it, rate it. Leave a review, give us 5 stars, right? It really helps people discover the podcast. And one of the reasons that I like to do it is I get cool guests, people that I'm very interested to talk to, like Big 12 insider Wendell Barnhouse, who covered the league for years, was a sports writer for 43 years, basically covered one conference, right? The SWC, Southwest Conference, and the Big 12, 2 different iterations of basically the same group of teams. And what he had told me was, why would you go and get an Arizona or an Arizona State, or even ask a Texas A&M or a Mizzou to come back to this conference when you're making money hand over fist as a member school? And I make the argument that I don't want to be third. right? I don't want to lag behind the Big Ten. I don't want to lag behind the SEC. I don't want 11 a.m. kickoffs. And he's saying, well, that's valid and that's true. And we hear fans, but we also know that all 10 schools are making a boatload of money and they are not in any hurry to add anybody to the pie because the pie gets smaller. And from where Bowlesby's sitting, if an Oklahoma can emerge to continue to make the Big 12 relevant by getting into the college football playoff, you're only going to make more money. To say nothing of the extra $15 million a year Texas gets for the Longhorn Network from ESPN, not because anybody watches it, but because ESPN basically bet and lost, right? And then OU gets another $7 to $8 million for the whole Fox Sports Oklahoma deal that they have going on. So you're looking between those two teams at between $45 and $40 million a year that they make, right? They're not in a hurry to add anybody, and why would they? Plus, A&M is trash. Arizona ain't very good. Arizona State ain't very good. So you're just adding teams to add them. I get that. However, get Nebraska back in here. Get Nebraska and Arkansas in here, and they can add to the amount of money that we can make as a conference. They would be welcome additions because they'll bring fan bases and they'll bring money to the Big 12. And then we can begin to knock off the Big 10, and maybe one day soon, especially if Amazon and Google and YouTube get into television rights in the way that I think they might in the coming years, we could battle the SEC for the top conference, right? We could be, and we wouldn't have to worry about Oklahoma jumping to the SEC every time we get styled on with an 11 o'clock kickoff game. I mean, listen to the podcast. Wendell did a really great job of laying out television rights and how this all works, and I had a good time with it. While you're at it, give a listen to the podcast I did with Dennis Dodd, where we discussed Kyler Murray and how him making this kind of money as a college football player will impact the NCAA model. Dennis Dodd's very, very good at this stuff, man. I mean, it was like 100,000 100,000 followers on Twitter, and he has been basically covering the same sport since 1998. I mean, he's great. I really enjoyed it. Two really good guests on the podcast. I had a lot of fun with it. Whoa, Mr. $5 Super Chat. My fault. My boy says you're a 5-star. Fire Mike Stoops. Appreciate that, Jared Gray. I appreciate that, fam. Let me see. What are y'all talking about in here? Let's see. What do we got? Let me see. RJ U Rock. I appreciate that, Denise. Thank you. By the way, my sister's name is Denise. Don't know if I've ever said that. My sister's also a biomedical engineer who runs a hospital. Did I ever mention I'm not the smart one in my family? Like, good grief. My sister, she's married to this guy who's got a PhD in computer science. And no, he does not work for the NSA, but I wouldn't be surprised if one day he does. He's that kind of dude. Leads a lot of war books and stuff. Also skinny. Also want to break him in half. But he's my brother-in-law, so I think that just kind of goes with the territory. Matthew Wright says, is there any possible way the Big 12 could lure Nebraska back? I feel like bridges have been burned. So, Matthew, I actually brought this up to Wendell on the podcast. And there's a decent chance because Nebraska ain't having a good go of it in the Big 10. Not just because, well, they're garbage, they're trash in that conference, but because they play in the weakest of the two divisions of a 14-team league where you go years without playing marquee schools, right? Ideally, when Nebraska went to the Big 10, they thought that they would have Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State, all on their schedule every year. And that's more money, more money, more money for Nebraska, right? They thought they'd make out like bandits. And what they got is Minnesota, Iowa, Northwestern. They just got, it's garbage to look. Indiana, just bad. Just a bad schedule for bad football. And their belief in Scott Frost, man, it's almost like they think Scott Frost is going to play every position at Nebraska every year he's there, right? Because the money that is being poured into the program, being poured into him, season tickets have gone up. You got their athletic director guaranteeing that they're going to beat Oklahoma in 2022. By the way, kids that are in this 2019-2018 class will be redshirt juniors and seniors during that 2022 class, and they're pretty good, Bill Moose. So hold back. Take it back, fam. But I think we can get Nebraska back. But then that only solves one issue. We'd have to add another team, right? So who we go get? Go get Arkansas. Arkansas can't be happy. They're in one of the toughest divisions in all of football. All of football, all right? They have to get past Alabama and Auburn every year just to make it to the conference title game. They don't want any part of that. To say nothing of A&M, right? That's just a loaded division, let alone conference. And I think if they knew that they could get a sweet piece of the pie, they'd like to get Oklahoma and Texas back on the schedule, because then they can go back and recruit Texas. Look here, when you're Arkansas and Oklahoma State is out recruiting you in Texas, and this is a program where Red Dirt Sport actually made this point on Twitter, Mike Gundy's been out recruited by Baylor for 2 years in a row after a systemic sex scandal at a Baptist university. Mike Gundy, what are you doing? Right? But if Arkansas can't beat that guy who's getting beat by Baylor, who's a really bad football program, and what many people, myself included, don't necessarily deserve to have a football program anymore, what are you doing, Arkansas? Chad Morris, I hope you can turn things around. I like it when Arkansas is good, because, hey, man, adjacent states being good to Oklahoma, it's good for us, right? I like that. I like that. Plus, I just like watching Chad Morris's offense. It's a lot of fun. And because we don't actually play them, and because they're in a conference where they get to beat up on Alabama, Texas A&M, and Auburn, I'm all kind of, yeah, I'll root for Arkansas. That's cool with me, right? So, yeah, I think we can get Nebraska back. I also would love it if we get Arkansas, and then we could talk about a 12-team conference again. Let me see. What else we got in here? Robert Lane. Let me see. Steelboy, what's good, fam? He says Utah and BYU wouldn't be too bad. BYU doesn't want to drink at games. I want teams in here who don't mind having a beer in their stadiums. West Virginia's ahead of the curve on this. Iowa State's catching up. Texas has said we're going to throw it. This is the way college football is going. I don't expect BYU to sell beer at games. Do what you want, BYU, but when it comes to conference revenue, if you're not kicking in because you're not selling alcohol at games, okay, be you in the Mountain West. More power to you. Don't want it in the Big 12. Let me see. What else we got in here? Michael Taylor says Nebraska, Virginia Tech, and Arkansas. I can't have another coastal team in this Big 12, man. West Virginia's too much. It's another reason I don't like Arizona. You got Arizona and West Virginia in the Big 12 coast to coast. We're the Big 12 coast to coast now? No, I don't like that at all. To say nothing of traveling to those games. Nah, man. Vatech can stay over in the ACC. We're not losing out on anything there. Rodney Anderson's draft stock better after this season. I hope so. I hope he goes for 2,000 yards and like 25 touchdowns, and he's a first-round draft pick a la Saquon Barkley, right? I think right now he's a solid late first-round pick, maybe early second round. He has a great year. He stays injury-free. First round, easy. Easy money. Robert Lane says Notre Dame is overrated. They really are. And Robert, I bet Robert listens to the podcast because Robert is a great friend to the channel. As you can see, donates almost every time he comes in here. Robert Lane is throwing down his cheddar to keep this channel going, man. But look, Notre Dame hadn't been very good for a very long time. Plus, Notre Dame gets to say, we're not in anybody's conference because we're Notre Dame and we're hoity-toity. Now, they play some ACC games, but they ain't very good. And if NBC didn't go into bed with them on that television contract, they'd be in the same boat as everybody else, and they'd have to pledge a conference. And Wendell actually made a really good point. He says, I think Notre Dame should be made to join a conference, because you don't have to kick in the way that the other teams have to kick in, and that's not right. It's not fair. And Notre Dame used to say, or the knock against them joining, the reason they didn't want to join is exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about splitting their money. They don't want to split up their money with anybody. They want it to stay in-house. And yet we used to say, okay, well, then you're not going to be able to play in the college football playoff if you don't join a conference, because you wouldn't have a conference championship and you wouldn't have a conference schedule. And Notre Dame says, well, Alabama didn't even play for its conference championship. They made it in. They won a national title. So I think we're getting to a tipping point pretty soon where we're going to have to force Notre Dame to kick in, or actually make a Notre Dame rule that says you're not eligible for a national title unless you join a conference. And then we end up with a UCF situation, because that would, of course, be the year that Notre Dame goes undefeated. You know? But yeah. I'm with you, Robert. They're overrated. They're not very good. I wish they were better. I wish they earned the prestige that they have had since Newt Rockne and Ara Parseghian, and a walk-on who was 5 foot nothing, 140 pounds and nothing, didn't have any stars to his name, and was one of the most inspirational college football players of all time. Man, this stars thing is really getting in my craw. It really is. Let me see. Bradley says, got to bounce, wanted to pass through. Appreciate that, Bradley. I'll catch you on the replay, dog. Let me see. Metro Excellence. Who does Notre Dame even play? They got the rivalry games. You know, they got USC on the schedule. Every once in a while, they'll get Florida State on the schedule, Miami on the schedule. You know, those sorts of games. But it doesn't matter. You know, it really doesn't matter. Now, they're not as watered down as some. You know, like, check this out. Georgia is going to open up its season against Austin P. The Governors. Okay. Look, this leads me into the other part of this live stream that I want to get into, which is the new redshirt rule was issued today. And the redshirt rule basically goes from, it used to be if a player played in a game and he couldn't be redshirted, right? You had to do 0 or nothing, right? You couldn't play and receive your red shirt. Now that rule is 4 games. Now a Deshaun White, a Ronnie Perkins, a Michael Thompson before he blew out his ACL, of course, could have played for 4 games and still retain their red shirt. Now, immediately, Alabama fans are like, man, we would have had another year of Tua if this rule was in place last year, but Tua, all he did was win him the national championship, so I think we're squared there, Alabama. But you're looking at a kid like Shea Patterson at Michigan now, who had to come in for the last 3 games after Chad Kelly blew out his knee at Ole Miss. And because he played in those 3 games, he burned up his red shirt, so he lost a year of eligibility. And that's what this rule is meant to help with. Now, on the other hand, you're going to end up with a lot of freshmen playing, which is great for us, right? It's great for most schools. But I think it's going to turn these really bad non-conference games like Austin P and Alabama playing Sanford or Chattanooga or whoever into glorified spring games where you see nothing but freshmen all over the field playing these closer games to Austin P, where a full-strength Alabama team would drub Austin P 70-0. And an all-freshman Alabama team probably wins by 2 touchdowns. And then you're going to have Alabama doing what they did against Fresno State last year, which is, no, Austin P was really good. Y'all just sleeping on him. We're creating more headaches on that issue, but also the selection committee's got to be able to see into that. That's your job on this panel. Your job is to say, did Alabama play a bunch of freshmen against Austin P? And did they schedule Austin P? Right? And it wasn't them, it's Georgia, right? But did they do that? And that should be held against them, right? Now, so that's the other thing. It used to be you would make the pitch to a recruit that you wanted. You can play right away at Oklahoma, right? You could play right away. Now, I think that was always kind of an iffy thing to say to a recruit because check this out. Every college football coach I know of says if you're better than the guy in front of you, you will play. Flat out. I don't care if you're a freshman. I don't care if you're a redshirt senior. If you're the best guy, you will play, right? So the whole playing time argument goes out the window. But it was always going out the window. And even now when kids know that they're probably going to get to play 4 games in 4 games right off the bat, you know, you don't even have to say that anymore. You just continue to say, hey, if you come to Oklahoma, you will play football. Right? You're not going to wilt on the vine. That's not going to happen where we are. Now, again, a good point was made, right? Conferences could weasel in on this rule where they have some flexibility to say things like you can only play the freshmen that you want to redshirt in non-conference games and your bowl game, which means that if they would play in a conference game, they would burn their red shirt, right? So there, I mean, but if you're the conference, do you really want to do that? Do you really want to do that? Especially in the Big 12 where you got Kansas, where Oklahoma might want to do the Austin P thing and play a bunch of freshmen, not so that we don't get anybody unnecessarily hurt against a bad football team that happens to be in our conference, happens to be on our schedule. So it's not the Austin P thing, right? I guess the 1-to-1 for the SEC would be Vanderbilt. Right? They're just a bad football team in a good conference, right? So I could see that. But if I'm the commissioner, I don't know that this is something I want to do. I don't think so. I really don't. I don't think so. I think that I would lead this up to coaches as much as I could, especially this first year, see how things play out, see what problems arise, and then, you know, we'll adapt. We'll overcome. We'll be better. What else we got in here? Let me see. I see the high five from you. I see this high five from you still. Oh, to Miles. That's what's up. Oh, man, I like it when you guys are in here chatting with each other. That's one of the reasons I love this channel, right? I wanted a community for Oklahoma Sooners football fans and college football fans, as AJ will tell you, where we could just come in here and chat about what we think is good. You know what I mean? We got time for one more question before we got to wrap it up. Let me see. Who else we got in here? Matter of fact, Robert, did you pop another question in here, man? If you did, I missed it. So I'm mad. Oh, Curtis, let me ask you about this. Hey, RJ, have you noticed that when people donate money, that more than half of that goes to how we donate to Patreon, so all of it goes to you? Yeah, man, I do. I really do. And all of that money goes back into the channel. It goes back into me hustling down better guests for the podcast that patrons willed into existence. I would not be up doing a podcast if it weren't for Super Chats and Patreon, right? Because I got on here to do my YouTube thing, right? To make videos. That was cool. And then the live stream kind of came out of wanting to talk about the game immediately. And now it's a weekly thing that we do in the off season, and it's a we do it twice a week during the season. We do a preview show, and then we do an immediate post game show. And that's all because you guys have decided this is something that you really want and you value. And you show that on Patreon, you show that in Super Chat, and I try to continue to increase the value, get better with giving you the news you want to know in the best way that you want to hear it. I'm not into making the 15, 20-minute videos because I know everybody's time is valuable, right? So I try to squeeze as much as I can between 3 and about 7 minutes. 7 minutes is really on the long side for me. Most things are between that 3 and 5 minute stretch because I know we want Oklahoma football news. I know we want to get it as quickly as we can, and I know that we want to be able to talk about it, right? So that's what we're doing here, man. That's what we're doing. Good. Thanks for pointing that out, Curtis. I appreciate you, fam. Steelboy says, what's your predicted record this season? I got us at 11-1, lost to either, sadly, Texas or West Virginia. I got us at undefeated, okay? And I'm not just saying that because, you know, wishful thinking and everybody's 0-0 and, you know, everybody's undefeated to start the season. Look, if we get anything like the Kyler Murray sample size that we saw last year where he went 18 of 21 for 359 and 4 TDs, and West Virginia couldn't run him down, you return Rodney Anderson in the backfield. CeeDee Lamb has a year under his belt. You got Marquise Hollywood Brown coming back. Hopefully Mike gets it together with the defense because we're talented as all heck. You got another year under the belt of Kenneth Murray, who's a true sophomore leader of the defense, right? You got a stud in Buki. We're deep at corner. Nah, man. I don't see how we're getting stopped right now. I don't. The question for me is quarterback. So if Kyler Murray sets the world on fire against Florida Atlantic, continues to do it against UCLA, man, I don't see anybody stopping us. We're good. We are ready to win today, right now. So, pack your bags, man. Pack your bags. We're going back to college football playoff. You leave it up to me. I think we're going to have to leave it there. So, if you're in here, say hi, and we'll roll out, fam. Let me see. Robert Lane said deuces. I appreciate you. Bright Red Elephant said deuces. Miles Landscape Design. I appreciate that, fam. CBR Swag was in here. Sooner Ace was in here. Pure Flames was in here. Matthew Wright was in here. Daniel Wilson. Jared Gray. Bruce Cobbles. Kubrals. Excuse me. Steelboy09 was good. Oscar Derrick was good. Let me see. Robert Lane. I saw you, fam. Miles Montoya. There you are, fam. Zane Daniels was good. AJ, I saw you, fam. Let me see. Mama! I know you ain't here. Terry! No, you ain't here, too. Good night, Weapon X. Good night, Brave. Good night, Laurel. Sean Stapleton was good. Let me see. What else we got in here? Bradley Character made it through. Denise France, what's good? Gregory Rayford, what's good? Just Dustin, I see you. Jared Gray with the $5 super chat and the Fire Mike Stoops. I dig it. Sean Stapleton, I see you, fam. Let me see. What else we got in here? Mike McCoy was in here. Jack Granger was in here. Billy in the Redwoods was in here. Dalton Mann was good. Daniel Torres was good. Kyle Williams was in here. Bailey! Trying to get more OU students like myself to watch. You are awesome. I appreciate that, Bailey. Let them know, man. We're trying to get it. We're trying to get it on and popping every day, all day. Tyron Jones was good. Joe Odenwald was good. Caden made some music. I see you, fam. All right, that's it for me. If you like the videos, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel because I upload a video every single day. It's always OU related, college football related, sports related. This is your place for Oklahoma football news and analysis. If you're listening to this on the WOOSAH podcast replay, appreciate that, fam. That's one of the reasons that I do it is because you wanted it there. All right, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Deuces.